Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to be learning a fun stuff. So recently, I've been scrolling through the GSAP community, and then I found this cool little post which linked to the Made with GSAP site, wherein they have like cool tutorials for um fun stuff like these. So actually, it's pretty crazy. So this one was free, and then the other ones are basically you gotta pay to learn. And then yeah, I found this really nice, and I thought, why not teach you guys this as well? So I'll leave the link in the description so you guys can check the original post out. And then yeah, so this is what we have. So we have here a bunch of images. Now this is sort of like a gallery. Now I could have made it like I basically could have elaborated it more. Like when we click on any of the images, it could have like opened up in a light box or so. But then yeah, I just wanted to basically showcase this effect. Now obviously you can be creative and then add other stuffs here as well. So here, when I basically move my cursor, you'd see that these images, they basically start flying, and then they basically move from one place to another, and then at the end they basically come back to the original place. So it's pretty fun. Has this cool GSAP plugin called as Inertia, and now since GSAP is free, so we can use the cool plugins. And yeah, it's pretty fun. So these basically would take like hours to build if you build from scratch, but then now since like all these plugins are available, it's pretty easy. And trust me, these are really easy to build. So yeah, we're going to be building this in this video. So the source code is in the description, so you guys can download and play with it. So yeah, without a delay, let's get started and let's learn to build this. So here I'm in my cursor with the dependencies that we're going to be needing. So we have our index.html file, we have inertia.minify.js, we have our script file when we're going to be writing the actual script, and then the style.css. So here inside of the body, I've already linked the style sheet. I've linked the gsap.minify.js, which is from cdn.js, and then the inertia.minify.js, which is the script. So I've added that as well here. So when you guys download the source code, you're gonna be you basically will be getting this file as well. So inside of the body, the first thing that I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be adding the main tag within which we're gonna have um all the different images. So inside this main, we're gonna have our gallery. The gallery would have image, and then within this image, we're gonna have the actual image. And then I'm gonna be pasting it several times. So we have 12 images. Now the CSS is pretty basic, so I won't be going deep into CSS. The body basically centers everything. The gallery wraps it up in a flex. It has a width of 860 pixels. The image div take 200 width and height, object fed of cover, and then has a bit of border radius. And then the image actual has also width and height, object fit to cover, grayscale to 100%, and then a border radius of 10 pixels. So you can basically remove the border radius from here and then just keep it here. And then we basically transition when we hover over the image from grayscale 100% to grayscale 0. So there's that. So that's basically what the CSS is. Now let's see how it looks. So this is how it looks. So when you hover over the images, you'd see that they're grayed, and then when you hover, if the image actually is not gray, then you'd basically be seeing different colors. I mean the actual color. So this is basically the HTML and CSS. Now let's add the JavaScript. So for the JavaScript, we're going to be first listening to the DOM content loaded. So we want everything to be loaded up, and then we want to fire this off. And then we're going to register our Inertia plugin. Then the second thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be basically grabbing onto all the different variables that are needed. So we're going to be needing these values. So we have old X, old Y, and then we have displaced X and displaced Y. So what are these? So basically old X and Y are the old position of our mouse's cursor. So we're going to be storing that. And then the displaced X and Y are basically the value that is basically from the current mouse position to the old mouse X and Y position. So that's that. And then the speed is basically the speed at which the images move from one place to another, the basically the motion that you see. So that's basically the speed. Then we're going to add an event listener. We're going to listen for the mouse move. And then when the mouse moves, what we're going to be doing is we're going to grab our displaced X. So every time the current position is going to be our current client X and the current client Y. And then we're going to just subtract it from the old X and old Y. So when we first start off, the old X and old Y would obviously be 0. So the current position is going to be the displacement. And then once that is done, we're going to store that in the old X and old Y. So when it runs for the second time, the previous times client X and client Y becomes the old value, and then that gets subtracted from the current client X and client Y. Now this might seem complicated, but I don't think there's anything to complicate. So we just subtract the current position of the current client X and client Y from the previous value. So when it runs for the first time, the obviously the old X and old Y is 0. So we don't have to um much to subtract. So basically, the client X and client Y is the current value. So once we have these, then we're gonna add so basically we're gonna grab onto the images. So we have the image div, which has the actual image. We're gonna grab all of them and then run a for each, and then we're gonna listen for each individual element. We're gonna listen for the mouse enter. So when the mouse enters on each of the individual image, then we want to start a GSAP timeline. Now the GSAP timeline, what it does is, so basically before starting that, we're going to also grab the actual image inside of the image, and then we're going to take the timeline and set the to property of GSAP, and then we're going to target the image, and then we're going to start the inertia. So this is where the minified JavaScript comes into play. So basically it gives us like basically the properties like these. So we have inertia, which has X and Y position. So we're going to take the X, we're going to set the velocity, the speed at which it moves. So for that, we first take the displaced value. So we have the displaced X, and then we just multiply it with the speed that we have. And so it basically moves with that specific speed. And then we want to bring it to its original place, so n0. Same way we do it for the Y, but then for Y, we just have displaced Y instead. And that's basically it. Let's save and let's see. So now here, when I've moved my cursor, you see that these images, they start flying. Crazy, right? So that's it for this video. Hope this was fun. The source code is going to be down in the description, so download that, play with it, and have fun. So yeah, meet you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care, and peace.